There's a stretch of asphalt in every trucker's memory that they can drive with their eyes closed, because they've driven it so many times with their eyes wide open, knuckles white, praying to a God they don't usually talk to. 20 of those stretches made this list, not by opinion, not by some desk jockey in an office picking pretty mountain names off a map. These roads earned their spot the same way everything earns respect in this industry. Burned brakes, jackknifed rigs, and drivers who live to tell the story on Channel 19. Some of these you climb, some of these you cross. One of these has a song written about it that every driver over 50 can hum without trying. By the time we hit number 1, you'll understand exactly why. Let's roll. Lookout Pass sits right on the state line in the Bitterroots, and it's the softest entry on this list, which in this business still means something. The eastbound grade climbs into thin mountain air, where the weather can flip from dry pavement to a whiteout in the time it takes to finish a cup of gas station coffee. Truckers call it the toll booth, because Montana doesn't let you in for free. You pay in chain time, 45 minutes gone, and your delivery window right along with it. Out in western Maryland, the highway engineers cut straight through a mountain and left the rock wall exposed on both sides, like a scar that never healed. The descent off Sidling Hill has eaten more brake shoes than the state probably wants to admit, and that runaway ramp near the bottom isn't decoration. Old-timers joke that Maryland's got the smallest trucking footprint on the East Coast, and somehow still found room to build one of its meanest hills. Small state, big humility lesson. You leave Salt Lake City, and within minutes you're climbing hard into the Wasatch, with ski traffic weaving through 80,000 pounds of freight like it's a video game. The runaway ramps near the summit see regular use, and not from tourists. What makes parlays sting is the audience. SUVs, minivans, weekend skiers, all watching a driver try not to lose his brakes in front of a packed house. Here's a fun piece of CB folklore that happens to be true. This grade was once considered too steep and too tight for trucks to run at all. For years, commercial rigs were flat-out banned from crossing it. The road's been softened since, but the curves haven't forgotten what they used to be, and neither should you. Breaker 19, anybody got eyes on Sam's Gap eastbound? Yeah, and it's got eyes on you too, buddy. 17 down, 13 to go before this gets serious. This is the road with no shoulder and no mercy. A stretch of interstate, literally hung on viaducts inside a canyon, so narrow there was nowhere else to put it. Rock slides close it. Wildfire scars above it turn rainstorms into mudslide threats. When Glenwood shuts down, there's no detour, just a parking lot of idling diesel and a dispatcher who doesn't want to hear about it. Afton doesn't need snow. It doesn't need ice. All Afton needs is fog, and the Blue Ridge hands it out for free on a regular basis. Drivers describe cresting the mountain in daylight and dropping into a wall of white, thick enough to erase the truck 2 lengths in front of them. This is the one hill on the list where the danger isn't your engine or your brakes. It's your eyes simply not working anymore. A curvy river gorge road that was never generous to begin with, and one that's taken serious damage from historic flooding in recent years. The kind that closed lanes for what felt like forever and rerouted an entire region's freight. Drivers who run this corridor check the road conditions the way other people check the weather before deciding what to wear. Old-timers still call this stretch by its old nickname from back when it was a 2-lane road with a body count that earned it a reputation nobody wanted. It's been widened and tamed some since. The summit still collects its share of ice, wind, and drivers who forget they're not driving the improved version their GPS thinks they are. The only way through on I-5 here is up and over more than 4,000 feet, and this is the pass that decides whether truckers are throwing chains in October or June. Snowfall doesn't check the calendar at this elevation. Neither does the chain-up line that forms at the base when Caltrans and ODOT both decide on the same day that today's the day. The highest point on the entire interstate highway system runs straight through a tunnel bored into the Continental Divide, and getting there means climbing switchbacks that punish transmissions built for sea level, ski traffic on weekends, avalanche control closures in winter, and altitude that makes a diesel engine work like it's asthmatic. Nobody relaxes here, not once. Quick thing before we keep climbing. If this list is putting names to roads you've white-knuckled yourself, do us a favor and hit subscribe. Costs nothing, takes a second, and unlike anything left on this countdown, it will never once make you drop a gear. Alright, 9 left. This is where it stops being scenery and starts being personal. Here's the one most four-wheelers have never even heard of, because it exists for one reason. Hazmat loads are banned from the tunnel below, so hazmat drivers get sent up and over instead. That means an 11,990-foot pass with switchbacks, thin guardrails, and snow that shows up whenever it wants, reserved specifically for the trucks carrying the cargo everyone least wants involved in an accident. Old CB joke that stuck around for decades. If your placard can't ride through the tunnel, congratulations, you get the view and the ulcer. 6 miles of 6% grade that has claimed enough rigs over the decades that Tennessee built not one but multiple runaway truck ramps just to keep up. Monteagle isn't feared for being unpredictable. It's feared because it's completely predictable, and it still gets people anyway. This grade has produced some of the ugliest multi-vehicle pileups in East Coast trucking history. Almost always the same recipe. Steep descent, sudden fog, drivers who didn't slow down soon enough because the fog hadn't shown up yet when they crested the ridge. Drivers who've run it for years don't joke much about Fancy Gap. That silence tells you everything. Real quick, if you've run any of the next 7, and you're still frowning just reading the names, drop your mile marker in the comments. We want receipts, not opinions. Now, the top 7. This is where the legends live. This pass has been carrying traffic since wagon trains used it on the old Santa Fe Trail, and it still tests drivers the same way it tested oxen. Steep grade, thin air, weather that turns on you between one state line and the next. There's a certain pride among drivers who've crossed it in winter and live to complain about it at the next truck stop. This one doesn't care about your gears at all. Sherman Hill's reputation is built entirely on wind. Gusts strong enough to flip loaded trailers onto their sides like toys. Strong enough to shut the interstate down more often for wind than for snow. Wyoming truckers say the state bird out here is a hubcap doing 70 sideways. Funny, until it's your hubcap. The name alone carries weight before a driver's even seen the grade. This is the Sierra Nevada crossing that's shut down entire freight corridors for days, at a stretch during heavy winters. Chain law after chain law. Rig after rig parked bumper to bumper waiting for Caltrans to give the word. Every West Coast driver has a Donner story, and none of them are short. Before we get into the last 4, understand something. Everything up to this point has been warming you up. 2 names left on this list are so well known that saying them on a CB in the wrong truck stop gets you a story in return whether you asked for one or not. Cajon has a reputation for something specific. Brake failures and truck fires on the long descent into the Inland Empire, often within sight of heavy commuter traffic that has no idea what's happening 2 vehicles ahead of them. This grade sees more truck-specific incidents than almost anywhere else in the state, and it treats every descent like it owes the driver nothing. Ask a trucker anywhere in the country to name one mountain grade off the top of their head, and there's a real chance they say the Grapevine before anything else. This is the pass that shuts down and strands the entire state's freight when the snow hits. Brake check areas stacked one after another. Chain laws that activate with almost no warning. It's not the steepest hill on this list. It might be the most famous one in America. Officially, it's Deadman Pass, through the Blue Mountains, but nobody who drives it calls it that. Cabbage Hill has a jackknife history long enough to fill its own book. A mandatory chain-up area that sees action almost every winter week, and a nickname nobody fully agrees on the origin of, which somehow makes it worse, not better. Confidence goes in at the top, something else comes out at the bottom. There's a reason an entire generation of drivers can hum a tune about this exact stretch of road without being told which song it is. Wolf Creek sits near 11,000 feet in the San Juans, with switchbacks and grades on both the climb and the drop that don't offer a driver a single mile to relax. No tunnel option, no easy bypass. Just a 2-lane mountain crossing that's been humbling professional drivers for generations. one white-knuckle load at a time. Every trucker who's crossed it has a story. The ones who haven't just nod along like they understand. And everyone in that cab knows they don't. 20 roads. 20 reasons drivers keep their hands at 10, and 2 a little tighter than usual. Drop your own worst grade in the comments. We read every one of them. And yeah, we've probably heard of it. If this list held up, hit subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Keep the shiny side up out there.